when we talk about all the things we talk about on the phone with these people, we're going to be talking about the products and the features and the company and all this stuff to get them to remember us, everything. How much are they going to remember? They say that when you're in a sales pitch, people remember about 10% of what you tell them. Not very much. We kind of need them to remember more than that, right? But they're not going to, no matter what you do. They're only going to remember, you teach about waiver and the ratings and this and that and the company and the face amount and here's the formula and blah, 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 and here's the rule of thumb. They don't remember much of anything. But I can tell you this, they will remember 100% of how you made them feel. So that's the thing we have to make sure that they have the proper takeaway on. If they trust you, if they like you, if they want you to be the person that they're going to do their life insurance with. So you want to make sure they get the right feeling from you. And by the way, what do we use? What is the currency of business? In any business, what's the currency of business?
A promise, commitment, helping someone get ahead.
I'm going to say in one word, the currency of business is words. What do we have? I mean, they pick up the phone. What are they getting on the other end of the phone? Words. You're using words. You could choose any words you want. You can choose the right words. You can choose the wrong words. You might as well figure out what the right words are. I use these words, people buy. I use those words, they don't buy. Well, stop using those words. It's real simple. I mean, if you keep using the ones that don't work, I mean, it's amazing to me. And then sometimes it's intonation. Sometimes it's knowing when to pause. Sometimes it's knowing when to ask a question rather than just talking at someone. But words are the currency of business. So figure out what the right words are. Listen to me. Listen to your trainers. These people know what they're doing. I mean, they have done this before. They have learned what works. And we have, and if that doesn't work, then find something that does. Read books on life insurance. Read books on, just become good at this. Prove to yourself, have the confidence so that the right words come out of your mouth. There was a guy named Ben Feldman who I used to hear about when I grew up. My dad was a New York life agent, and Ben Feldman was also a New York life agent. He was the most prolific life insurance agent that ever walked the face of the earth or probably ever will walk the face of the earth. And this guy's story is just a fascinating story. My dad used to tell me stories about going to the New York Life conventions once a year, and once in a while they'd get Ben Feldman to come talk to him. He was so nervous to speak in front of people, he couldn't get in front of people at all. He was a nervous guy. He would speak to the agents who, by the way, he didn't have to worry about them liking him. I mean, these guys worshiped this guy. I mean, he was preaching to the choir. If anybody ever was preaching to the choir, he was. He was so nervous he could not get up in front of them. So when he did talk to them, he spoke into a microphone behind the curtain. Couldn't even see him. He was afraid to get up in front of people. Public speaking was a fear he had. He was a little short guy, maybe 5'2", 5'3", looked a little bit like Ernest Borgnine, kind of bald, little space between his teeth, not all that good looking a guy, right? You're picturing the greatest life insurance salesman on the face of the earth ever. You picture him to be an Alec Baldwin type, like good-looking guy, crisp dresser, he's, Mr. Personality. This guy spoke so softly you could barely hear him. I mean, he spoke with a lisp, couldn't pronounce an S. All right? He never had any training in sales whatsoever. He was, I don't know if you guys ever watched the Andy Griffith Show, but there was this guy called the butter and egg guy, the guy who's delivered butter and eggs and dairy that Aunt Bee had a little affair with. You remember that episode? That was the guy that Ben Feldman was. He was a butter and egg delivery guy for his father's farm. And when he went for New York Life to hire him, they didn't want to hire him because he didn't pass any of the aptitude tests. Like, you have no experience, you're never going to make it. They begged him to hire him. And he single-handedly reinvented how to sell this product because he figured out the words that work. His books are out of print now. You can still find them if you want to pay up for them. They're like $100 to find one of his old books. It made me a ton of money. I said, here's the guy that made the most money selling life insurance. I'm buying this guy's book. I bought his book, and I used it in my career, and it made me money, and I still use it. There's some of the power phrases that he came up with. He used to do some crazy stuff. He sold mostly to business owners. He'd walk into businesses, and I'm not suggesting you do this, but I'm just suggesting that you get creative and learn how to sharpen your axe. But he'd walk into businesses, and the secretary would be screening him out, and he said, I want to see Mr. Jones. Oh, Mr. Jones, you need an appointment. He says, well, tell you what, can you just hand him this envelope and I'll wait here? Okay, so he opens the envelope, and in the envelope is a little card, and it says, and it was $500 bills, which at the time was like $1,000 each. I mean, back in the 40s and 50s when he was doing this, it was a lot of money. I mean, today it's a lot of money, but then it was really a lot of money. You could buy a car for $500 in those days. He says, $500 for 5 minutes of your time. How many guys do you think didn't see him? He got in to see these guys. And nobody kept the money, by the way. They all felt guilty. They were going to keep the money. They're just the cute way to get in. Then he'd open up a briefcase, and he'd have they used to make $1,000 bills. I don't know if you know this, but he'd have $1,000 bills fanned out in his briefcase. And he says, I'm selling these. How many of these do you want to buy? These $1,000 bills. I'm selling these for $1 a piece or $10 a piece, or just all this imagery that he came up with. He'd say statements like, if what you have, and this was mostly for estate planning cases, people that had a lot of money that were going to lose it in taxes when they die. Look, if what you have was worth spending a lifetime to build, it must be worth preserving for your family. Powerful stuff. It's powerful. I mean, I think it is. So it works for me, and I still use it to this day.